let's go back to New York and see someone taking a little bit of a beating. This is actually quite enjoyable. This is exactly what should be happening at every Republican town hall. Now, to be fair, they have very few now, apparently, Republican town halls. But when you're in a district that is a purple district,
and in a blue state,
it's going to be very difficult for you to hide.
Also, he wants to run for governor. So this is something he's going to need to do, interface with voters if that's what he wants, because he's worried about that purple district in 2026.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant this. He's going to run for governor. I mean, I would love to see this guy on the campaign trail. It would be, honestly, it'd be like a rolling comedy club. Here is Mike Lawler having a town hall in Rockland County, New York. And this did not go well for Mr. Lawler.
That are going to make everything more expensive for us, kidnapping and deporting 2-year-olds who have cancer and sitting them off. So my question to you, none of this is helping us. We're getting hurt. We in the community are being harmed by this. What are you doing to stand in opposition to this administration? And what specifically are you doing that warrants the label moderate?
Pause it for 1 second. This is a great question to ask of every Republican, because the fact of the matter is that by virtue of voting for Mike Johnson as the House leader, by virtue of voting for John Thune as the Senate leader, by virtue of just being a Republican, they are enabling Donald Trump. Period. End of story. Period. End of story. It doesn't matter that they can find votes that'll make it look like they vote with the president only 75% of the time, or 80% of the time, or 68% of the time. I doubt that he has that record, but let's just even, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the fundamental issues of no oversight of their big, beautiful reconciliation bill, those are the only things that are really essentially Congress could or is not doing. And Mike Lawler is part of that. So that is the perfect question. Why do you deserve the label moderate? Because these guys run in these districts as if they're moderate. Like, how are you impeding the worst of what Donald Trump is doing?
So my question to you, none of this is helping us. We're getting hurt. We in the community are being harmed by this. What are you doing to stand in opposition to this administration? And what specifically are you doing that warrants the label moderate?
Again, my record speaks for itself. I have been rated.
Pause it for 1 second. We did not, I just want to make it clear, we did not sweeten that with a laugh track. That was his constituents laughing him off the stage and to be honest, having, done a decent amount of comedy back in the days in front of live audiences, to be able to get a joke in that first 7 seconds, I mean, that's pretty good to get that type of laugh.
My record speaks for itself. I have been rated the fourth most bipartisan for a reason, which is a very simple fact, that unlike many of my colleagues, I actually do work across the aisle. I actually do sit down with my colleagues. There's not a single local elected official who can honestly say that I have not sat down with them and worked with them regardless of their party. There's not a single one of my Democratic colleagues in the Congress who could say that I don't do that. When it comes to votes, if you want me to answer the questions, let the question be asked, and then...
It's funny just to get so mad after like wasting everyone's time with a bunch of platitudes like my thing speaks for itself.
When the hand goes up, the mouths go shut, everyone.
I'm going to answer it in a very insulting to your intelligence way, but let me do it.
I am the fourth most bipartisan member of the House caucus. That being, of course, a bunch of lunatics. Like the fourth most bipartisan person on the Republican Party probably has voted against Donald Trump like twice.
If you want me to answer the questions, let the question be asked, and then listen to the answer. If you're just going to yell back and forth, the time is going to run pretty quick. So, folks, when it comes to the economy, okay, we have an affordability crisis. This crisis didn't just start. We've been dealing with it for the last 4 years. Everything went up. The cost of groceries, the cost of housing. For instance, in Rockland County, the average mortgage cost went up $1,000 a month. That's over $12,000 a year on an annual basis. Okay? And so what we're dealing with is trying to reverse a lot of this. What happened? What caused that? What caused record inflation? $5 trillion in new spending in the first 2 years of the Biden administration is what gave us record inflation. And so when you have record inflation,
Sounds like they disagree.
you have to be able to curtail inflation. So what happened? Interest rates went up, right? And that drove up mortgage costs. You have to be able to reverse that. So you...
Oh, pause it incidentally for this somewhat blinkered explanation of the inflation and how mortgage rates. I just want to remind you the question was, what justifies you as a moderate?
Yep.
Just in case you had forgotten, because it's been almost like a minute or two. Go ahead.
Able to curtail inflation. So what happened? Interest rates went up, right? And that drove up mortgage costs. You have to be able to reverse that. So you bring down interest rates, you bring down spending. Right now we are 36 trillion in debt. We are spending 7 trillion on an annual basis, with 2 trillion in deficit spending and 1 trillion in interest payments on our debt. At the end of this year, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is going to expire. And if
We should say that when they cut those taxes for millionaires and billionaires, that might also be considered doing exactly what the Biden administration did. Except for when the Biden administration spent that money, and it wasn't $5 trillion, but when the Biden administration spent that money, a lot of that money went to paying for people's health care, went to expansion of SNAP, went to expansion of unemployment compensation, went to providing, getting rid of almost 45%, maybe 48% of child poverty in a year.
Interesting. He supports the extension of the 2017 tax cuts, despite all those numbers about how much of a budget hole we're in.
Did you? So he apparently they made sure that this was yesterday, Sunday. LOHUD reports only residents of New York's 17th congressional district will be allowed in. Everyone who registered in advance will be admitted if they show identification with an address that matches the one on their registration. Walk-ins will be permitted if any seats remain, Lawler's office said on Friday. So the point there is that all of these other Republicans are claiming that Democrats and Soros are paying outside agitators to come into these town halls. No, there were hundreds of people that had signed up. Over 700 people signed up to this forum in West Nyack. And it appears, according to this article, that only residents of the district were allowed in. And you had to, and many people registered in advance to make that clear.
I will tell you right now, and I say this with confidence, if you have been squatting on MikeLawler2026.com, hoping that his campaign, I would sell now. I would sell now. I think right now, I suspect what Mike Lawler is doing is starting to look for a lobbying job.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's basically it.
This is where you make your exit, as the venture capitalists like to say.
Exactly. This is part of the exit strategy. I mean, You got a real problem if people are showing up at that, and that looks like it wasn't a small crowd.
That's what the article was saying, that hundreds of people had signed up and it was packed.
Soros, so micro-targeting.
Lawler's office had set rules for the forum audience: no signs, no shouting, no video or audio recording, and warned that police and private security guards may remove anyone who violates the restrictions. Luckily, the reporter here, I'm actually, I lost it, but
Oh yeah, let me get.
it's okay. I want to give credit to this reporter, Austin Jefferson, who was there to record that anyway.
Yeah.
Well, also, the other thing I would do is fire that private security outfit. They didn't do a very good job. Maybe they could deport all those people who were shouting in there.
They might be able to. He can make an appeal to Donald Trump because he's so moderate.
He's so moderate. I mean, he's a big supporter of Israel. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe this was all about anti-Semitism.
That's a good question.
It's possible. That district, I'm sure. I mean, we gotta go in, maybe deport a bunch of people. Now, that being said, nobody in there was 2 years old, and no one was a child getting cancer treatment. So, hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out. We talked about the implication of Facebook in our conversation with Joshua Kaplan, reporter at ProPublica, and how Facebook was a huge recruiting tool for the 3%ers. Following January 6th, Facebook was able to throttle their reach. And then over the course of the next year or two, started to allow them to expand their reach again. So we know Facebook has the ability to do this. We know they can respond to this. There's been plenty of reporting to this. But as we told you yesterday, Zuckerberg announced that he was going to stop moderation. They were going to bring back politics now that Trump has won. And Chris Hayes reminded everybody part of the reason why they brought in moderators in the first place and did fact checking in the first place. And I want to remind you, when Zuckerberg said yesterday that he started Facebook so that people could have free speech, he started Facebook because it was a way to basically check out which freshman you want to sleep with in college.
Yep.
It was like a hot or not thing before it was Facebook. So
To help with connectivity, as
Right.
he likes to say.
to bridge divides between, is this woman a 10 or is this woman a 9?
But it's also worth
Go ahead.
But it's also worth recalling why Meta had to institute its soon-to-be former fact-checking policy in the first place. This has been totally written out of history. They didn't do all the fact-checking stuff out of nowhere. They certainly didn't because Mark Zuckerberg woke up one day and was like, we should fact-check. No. Let's remember the history there. They did it because starting in 2016, the platform that Zuckerberg founded, Facebook, was used to execute an ethnic genocide of the Rohingya Muslim minority by the military government of Myanmar. Tens of thousands of people were murdered in bloody and brutal pogroms. Accounts of gang rape. People have to flee their village. Hundreds of thousands left homeless. But it's also
Understand that everything that Zuckerberg is doing here is a function of, again, an oligarch kissing up to Donald Trump. Here is Joel Kaplan, who is now the Meta head of global affairs, on Fox News with Lawrence Jones. Joel Kaplan was such a longtime right-winger that he was part of the Brooks Brothers rioters down in the 2000 election. Here he is.
we're also going to change how we enforce the rules. And we're going to make it so that there's way less over-enforcement and way fewer mistakes that actually make up the vast majority of censorship that people experience on our platforms. So big changes, all in service of getting us back to our values of free expression.
So, Joe, I guess the big question is where are the changes coming from? Because, I mean, it's hard not to notice there's been a change in Mark Zuckerberg. You've seen him as, respectfully, the nerdy kid, change over to the jujitsu. He's put on some lean muscle. His viewpoints have changed. His posting content, when he does speak, he's taking a meeting with Trump, taking a different stance on certain things. Are these changes coming from him or from what the public is saying?
There's no question that the things that happen at Meta are coming from Mark, but there's also no question that there has been a change over the last 4 years. We saw a lot of societal and political pressure all in the direction of more content moderation, more censorship, and we've got a real opportunity now. We've got a new administration and a new president coming in who are big defenders of free expression, and that makes a difference. One of the things we've experienced is that when you have a U.S. president and administration that's pushing for censorship, it just makes it open season for other governments around the world that don't even have the protections of the First Amendment to really put pressure on U.S. companies. We're going to work with President Trump to push back on that kind of thing around the world.
So, Joel, why now? I know you said it's a change, but did you feel restricted over the last 4 years? And this is the first time it's in your business interest to express this quest for freedom?
Well, there's no question that there's an opportunity here with a new president taking office, as I said, who really believes in free expression. And that's just going to give us the space to get back to those values that Mark has talked about for a long. Mark gave a big speech 6 years ago at Georgetown about free expression, about these values. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of political and societal pressure here and around the world that have pushed away from those values. We've got a real opportunity to reset, get back to them, and really provide a space for free expression.
Unbelievable. Here, post that this clip. This will give you just a notion of what you're allowed to now run with on Facebook. And
here we go. Calling women household objects. Now permitted on Facebook after Meta updated its guidelines.
I mean, there's a lot more to this, but it just gives you a sense of this is what they are basically going for over there. Free expression of total misogyny. And again, this is a private platform. They can do what they want. But the idea that this is about free speech is just absolute BS.
Right.
It's just it's absolute BS.
It's about cutting labor costs so they can replace all their moderators with AI and with algorithms that favor their political leanings. Like this guy, Kaplan, is a former Bush administration official, as you say, part of the Brooks Brothers riots. This is not somebody who's there to earnestly be the arbiter of free speech. And now Matt mentioned this off mic. Dana White is going to be on the board of Meta, who, how many years ago was it? It wasn't like 20, was caught beating up his wife on camera at a luxury box, at the very least hitting her. 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Okay. So cancel culture.
Kaplan was there behind
youthful indiscretion.
Kaplan was there in the courtroom when Kavanaugh was doing his honey badger trust me, I didn't actually sexually assault that person performance. He's a GOP plant. He's been there for years. Back at 10 years or so ago, Facebook was looking at moderating hate, particularly anti-immigrant hate and stuff, out of their platforms. And Kaplan was the guy at Facebook saying, hey, we can't do this because the dragnet for that hatred is flagging too many Republican candidates for office. So we need to stop going after replacement theory and that sort of stuff. And this is just marketing because Facebook, like we've talked about, hasn't had a really good idea for a decade. The only thing they've grown on is the marketplace, which is frankly the actual material mover behind the crime wave panic, because people were shoplifting a whole bunch of stuff and needed a fence to move it, and these guys were happy to provide it with the minimal moderation. Oh, there's some free speech for all that stolen stuff. So yeah, these guys are villains, and they're using Fox News to market their platform that's frankly dead in the water.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out. Remember, there was that Fifth Circuit judge who was auditioning to be a Supreme Court justice who was talking about naturalized citizens and birthright citizenship. And he said, well, there are sort of exceptions to this, like if there's an invasion coming from across the border. Now, in reality, we know that the number of immigrants who are coming across the border now is at like a, I don't know, decade low. I mean, in part, that was because of very, in my estimation, egregious policies by Biden administration. But that's just the fact. Much harder to imply that there's an invasion happening when there's less people coming across the border now than there was during Trump's first term.
And like the way we think of border security has never occurred. That border, that border has never been secure that the way that, frankly, both parties pretend like they can do.
It can't be done. And the idea of our border being secure, like, what does that mean?
Right.
Fully half of the, supposed 11 million undocumented here came in on documents and just overstayed their visas.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, if you're going to claim that there's some type of invasion or some type of problem that would justify some type of extraordinary measures on January 22nd or 21st, you need to start laying the groundwork. So if some U.S. Army veteran, U.S. citizen goes on a rampage in New Orleans or blows up a Tesla in Vegas, what do you got to do? You got to pretend like it's a some type of immigrant attack. This is Fox News actually having to fact check Donald Trump. This is number 2.
Meanwhile, the man who's moving into this White House behind me in less than 3 weeks, President-elect Donald Trump put out a statement on social media earlier today that reads as follows. When I said that the criminals coming in are far worse than the criminals we have in our country, that statement was constantly refuted by Democrats and the fake news media, but it turned out to be true. The crime rate in our country is at a level that nobody has ever seen before. Our hearts are with all innocent victims and their
now, there's some truth to the crime level is really down significantly in some areas.
Almost every area except shoplifting. There was
shoplifting. It's now actually increased to 2019 levels.
Pre-pandemic
levels. Shoplifting had gone down during the pandemic, and it's now back up to 2019 levels.
But violent crime, murders, assaults all dropped significantly last year.
At a level that nobody has ever seen before. Our hearts are with all the innocent victims and their loved ones, including the brave officers of the New Orleans Police Department. The Trump administration will fully support the city of New Orleans as they investigate and recover from this act of pure evil. Now, the former president said criminals coming in a statement, meaning into our country. But to be clear, Molly and Brian, the suspect was born in the United States. He served in the United States Army. He was a veteran. The FBI is the lead agency in this investigation, going through the social media and any other accounts associated with the suspect. But
yeah, just wanted to make that clear. Totally American.
I mean, but is he totally American? Because he's not white, which is like so when you talk about the immigration levels being, or the border crossings being at a low at this point, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this is all a pretext to demonize people who are non-white. And right now there's like this project to reclaim this movement to say, oh, it's not really about that. They're populist. They're pro-worker. No, they're not. Like, I'm reminded of in 2016, do you remember that judge who was of Mexican ancestry but was born in Indiana, who Donald Trump said was biased towards him? This is the same thing. Because the guy in New Orleans, the suspect, is not white, it's a problem of immigration, because when they say immigration, they mean non-white people. And let's
Well-
deal with them. Let's deal with this issue on its face and not pretend like,
Maybe you're jaded.
Perhaps.
Let's listen to the border czar, Tom Homan, who, guards the border, probably both the Canadian one and the Mexican one, the one we have with both those countries. Here he is talking about the story of, I guess it was the Cybertruck that was exploded in Vegas. Incidentally, that guy who committed that, also U.S. veteran.
So this is just another danger this country faces because this country's been lax on national security, and groups like this been emboldened. I mean, when you got, protesters walking down the streets in New York City carrying terrorist flags, chanting death to Israel and death to the United States, and nothing's being done about it. And when you have a border that was secure under President Trump, and this administration unsecured it on purpose, it's an open invitation for those around the world that hate this country.
To put into perspective,
Incidentally, none of these attacks came from outside of this country. None of them came from people who are critical of Israel. At
least that we know of
attack
right now.
on Palestinians, anyways.
But yeah, I mean, you can see how Israel is used as like a proxy for American interests against the scary hordes of Muslim people around the world.
What does the border security guy have anything to do with these attacks? But the idea is any opportunity they're going to be able to take over the next couple of weeks to blame anything on immigration, they're going to take, because they need to gin this stuff up.
Yes, and the thing that is frustrating about the whole thing is that it does, the immigration stuff that they exploit does near a truth, which is that our immigration system is about disciplining workers in this country, whether it be, we'll talk about it later, that H-1B situation fight where that's when your employer has basically control over your immigration status. That's the leftist critique of it. Or when it's the threats of deportation for workers who are undocumented and sub-minimum wage. Those are used to basically keep workers in line in this country. And so this is the Republicans trying to pit white workers against non-white workers, and that is the heart of our immigration system. Instead of actually making things equitable for people, they're trying to demonize a whole group, and they are succeeding at this moment.
When Rashida Tlaib was on Hassan's stream a few weeks ago, she says that every time that an immigration bill comes up, she tries to put on that business owners and that hire laborers face penalties, and that's never included.
Never.
But if you did that and E-Verify, a lot of this would be solvable. So you don't actually want to solve it. They just want to, like Emma said, discipline workers.
Let's play this one last clip. This is Representative Dan Mercer. He is a Republican from Pennsylvania, 9th District, on with Fox's Cheryl Casson. I want you to watch this and think about the biggest attack we've ever had in this country, and whether the letters DEI existed in the context in which we understand them today.
How concerned should we be about homegrown terrorism? And, these ideologies, there was an ISIS flag on the back of his truck, these ideologies seeping into the hearts and minds of Americans. Is this the new threat, in your opinion?
Well, it's certainly a threat, and that's why we need focus, and we need readiness, and we need clarity and priorities. The priority of the last 4 years has been DEI, if you will, not IEDs. And that's the truth. You talk to anyone who's willing to speak within these agencies, that's what their focus has been, not on this level of high level preparation. I mean, let's face it, Director Wray raided the former president's home. The amount of time and energy and intelligence and funding had to go into something as useless as that, when meanwhile he testifies that we've never had a higher terrorist level due to threat, due to the open border. And these others getting radicalized. Look, there were flags on these guys. I mean, I'm hearing now that they may have actually known each other and been radicalized together. Now, that's unconfirmed, but it's possible. So, yeah, we've got to get very, very serious about the work to be done. President Trump's a serious guy. He's bringing in serious people. It's not about DEI. It's about the safety and security of the American people.
You know what's fascinating and also completely consistent with what you're saying? They didn't put up the picture of that guy, Matthew Livelsberger, who was the Army vet who blew up the Tesla, because he appears to be super white.
Yeah, just a white guy.
Right? But
Just plain white guy.
how do we know that he wasn't indoctrinated by the DEI?
He could have been indoctrinated by the DEI, but they chose only to show the brown guy
Oh, yeah.
because they had to talk about DEI.
We'll show his picture once we can, put him next to like being supportive of trans issues.
Right. I mean,
You know how big the DEI agency was in the Bush administration in 2001 on 9/11?
got to be massive. That's a huge attack.
It was incredibly stealth. But the point being, like, this is just absurd.
I know.
But this is what, when they do this, they are setting the table for what they are anticipating is going to happen on day one, if not day two, if not day three of the Trump administration. So buckle up and get ready for what's coming. This is they are laying the predicate, and we'll see if they go ahead with it. Who dat? So both were Army vets trained in violence, living in a country where mainstream media spews hatred and fear all day. Definitely must have been DEI. No other explanation.
Totally.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out. The Senate reconciliation bill, which we have been telling you about for months, weeks now, passed. The senators stayed over the weekend. When there's an opportunity to immiserate millions of people and enrich very wealthy people, these senators will go to the mat. They will give you 120%. And they did it this weekend. They lost 2 votes on essentially moving the bill forward. In other words, ending discussion or cloture. The 2 votes they lost were Tom Tillis from North Carolina. Not super shocking, although wouldn't have been the first one I guessed. And Rand Paul. Rand Paul didn't want to vote for this because it includes a debt ceiling increase. There were other senators who were prepared to vote against it, but when they saw that it actually would kill the bill if they voted against it, they didn't do it.
Do you see Josh Hawley's emo populism that he regrets that some of his constituents are going to be thrown off insurance? But
I think we have a clip of that. Don't we have a clip of that?
Fix it later of Hawley.
Yeah, we should. I think that's in the. But yes, we saw that. It turns out that Josh Hawley, his populism does not run as deeply as he did when folks were attacking the Capitol on January 6th. Nevertheless, the bill, the cloture passed. That means it goes on to debate. But what the Democrats in the Senate did is said that the staffers in the Senate, the secretary, had to read the bill. Usually this is skipped, but the bill is over 950 pages long, and nobody had really seen it for more than 10, 12 hours by the time it was voted upon. And so the Democrats called for it to be read. It was read all through the night until Sunday at some time. And then, as of this morning, the vote-a-rama begins, which is essentially with a reconciliation bill, you cannot prevent amendments from being offered. And so what happens in these instances is that both the Republicans and the Democrats begin to offer amendments so that they can, Republicans, so that they can mitigate the disaster this bill is going to do politically to them, or at least that's the theory. I voted to have an amendment and it was shot down. I voted to, make it possible for there to be green energy. I shot it down. I don't know that there would be any that would say that. Although I think Tom Tillis had a big problem with the green energy aspects of this. And then the Democrats keep adding amendments, some of which are votes that Republicans don't want to have to take, but will. But at the end of the day, this bill itself is so incredibly unpopular, and people haven't even actually begun to feel the impact. If you were thinking about putting solar panels on your house and anticipating that 30% tax cut, then you were thinking, maybe, you know what, I can't afford it this year, but maybe in a year or two I can. That tax cut is going to end at the end of this year. If you are a solar company that started up a year or two ago and thought, I'm going to be able to make this business work because the government is essentially subsidizing with these tax cuts the rollout of this technology. If you're a massive wind farm and you were thinking of building, or you were building, or you are selling products to other people, I mean, this is going to devastate thousands of businesses. If you were Elon Musk and trying to salvage your failing electric vehicle business, you're screwed. And apparently he's a little bit upset about things. But the list goes on and on. SNAP cuts. Millions of people will go without food assistance, and it'll get even worse in a recession. Here is Harry Enton on CNN. And understand, this is how badly people are perceiving this bill before they actually feel the pain itself.
How do Americans feel about the big, beautiful bill?
Yeah, if we're talking about adjectives, how about they think it's awful, they think it's horrible, and to quote our colleague Charles Barkley, terrible, terrible, terrible. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look at the net favorable rating on the big, beautiful bill. I don't just got one poll for you, Omar. I got 5 of them, and the net favorable rating, minus 19 points, Washington Post, minus 20 points, Pew Research Center, Fox minus 21, Quinnipiac University minus 26, KFF minus 29. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know that when the net favorable rating of your bill is somewhere between minus 19 and minus 29 points, that it is not a positive bill as viewed by the American public. The American public at this particular point hate the big, beautiful bill. As far as they're concerned, it's not a big, beautiful bill. It's a big, bad bill.
It is a big, bad bill. And it is amazing to me that you have mainstream media still referring to it as big, beautiful bill. I mean, it was such a, I can't believe that worked. I can't believe it. I just started calling it, the next bill we're going to try and pass is going to be Good Thing Bill.
The big, beautiful Trump is King bill.
Good bill. You wanted it. You got it. Trump is King bill.
And also the best businessman in American history bill.
Of course, there's huge upward distribution in this bill. I mean, this is a bill that is pushing $930 billion worth of Medicaid cuts and providing $910 billion tax breaks for corporations. And huge upward distribution in terms of taxes across the board. We know the vast majority, both as a real dollar amount and as a percentage of tax cuts, go to the very wealthy. Here is a taste of what Republicans who vote for this bill know, Tom Tillis is going to go in there. He still wants to have a future in Republican politics, mind you. So he's pretending that Donald Trump doesn't understand what he's doing, that he's being tricked by dumb advisors in the White House. No one's telling him the truth. And he's being fooled. Now, listen to Tom Tillis here. Understand he was up for re-election in 2026. He is no longer going to be up for re-election. The rest of the Republicans are basically saying, we are going to rob the bank and we get in the getaway car. Even if we lose the House and the Senate, this is going to have such a negative impact on this country. They just don't think that any of this stuff can be reversed. And on some level, they're going to be right. Here's Tom Tillis.
Between the state-directed payments and the cuts scheduled in this bill, there's a reduction of state-directed payments. And then there's the reduction of the provider tax. They can't find a hole in my estimate. So what they told me is that, yeah, it's rough, but North Carolina's used the system. They're going to have to make it work. All right. So what do I tell 663,000 people in 2 years or 3 years when President Trump breaks his promise by pushing them off of Medicaid because the funding's not there anymore, guys? When the White House officials advising the president are not telling him that the effect of this bill is to break a promise. And you know, the last time I saw a promise broken around health care, with respect to my friends on the other side of the aisle, it's when somebody said, if you like your health care, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. We found out that wasn't true.
Pause it for a second.
That made
now, I just need to, because I had to go live through this era, make a correction to what Tom Tillis is saying. Obviously, now, he can't get up there and say either A, the president is a inveterate liar, which we all know is the case. And in fact, in this instance, he lied against the people that support him. Or B, he is a complete moron and has no idea what he's pushing, which, you know, arguably, they don't have to be separate things.
Right.
They're not mutually exclusive. But this point about you can keep your doctor if you want, private health insurance does not let you do that. Every year, I can't remember when it is, sometime I think around now, actually, you get notice your doctor's no longer in plan. And if you go to him now, you get like only 25% coverage. And so when Obama said that, he should have had an asterisk next to it, you know, to the extent that private insurance lets you do that anyways, which of course they don't. But that's their talking point, and Tom Tillis still has to go to the country club once he quits the Senate. Continue.
Get back in the circle of trust.
Like your doctor, you can keep it. We found out that wasn't true. That made me the second Republican Speaker of the House since the Civil War, ladies and gentlemen, because we betrayed the promise to the American people. 2 years later, 3 years later, it actually made me a U.S. Senator, because in 2010, it had just been proposed. And just anticipation of what was going to happen was enough to have a sea change election that swept Republicans into the majority for the second time in 100 years. Now, Republicans are about to make a mistake on health care and betraying a promise. It is inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made in the Oval Office or in the cabinet room when I was there with finance, where he said we can go after waste, fraud, and abuse on any programs. Now,
okay, now the irony is the Medicaid 630,000 that he's talking about that are going to lose their Medicaid possibly under this, likely. They are on Medicaid because of the Affordable Care Act, which expanded Medicaid. Now, of course, he's not going to tell anybody that, but he needed an analogy. And the fact of the matter is, once it kicked in and people understood at least, it wasn't so much made health insurance significantly affordable. Well, it certainly didn't make it affordable for everybody who was not in the Affordable Care Act. But for everybody who was not part of the exchanges, which is about 11 million Americans, they all got an upgrade on the quality of their health insurance insofar as there was no rescission, there was no lifetime caps, there was no annual caps. That's the patient protection part of the bill. But let's not lose sight of what we're talking about here. This bill is a disaster. Millions are going to get cut from SNAP. Millions are going to get cut from Medicaid. So much of the tiny steps that we've taken in terms of renewable energy is going to go exactly the opposite way with subsidies for oil and gas. Someone just asked, why aren't Democrats filibustering this bill? This is a reconciliation bill. It's a special type of bill that only needs 50 plus 1 in the Senate. And they got 51 votes in the Senate. There are specifics that got wiped out of the bill because of it being a reconciliation bill, but that's what you're missing. Also, I don't know if that was a bolo tie. It could have been the microphone. I think it's the microphone. I can't imagine you go out wearing a bolo tie like that for your big swan song speech.
I didn't know North Carolina was a bolo tie place. I associate that with like Montana.
I feel like it was the microphone. Nevertheless, Tom Tillis just basically told us the Republicans know this may be incredibly politically costly and they don't care. They just robbed the bank and they're getting in the drive-away car. They don't care. We'll talk more about this, obviously, in the fun half and tomorrow. In a moment, we're going to be talking to Elie Mystal about the absolute crap show that the Supreme Court was in this term. This is what you get. This is what we all get. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out. Donald Trump did everything he could not to get overshadowed this inauguration. Last inauguration he had to spend all of his energy sort of like backfilling why or sort of retconning the idea that there was nobody at his inauguration because he was embarrassed by it. He likes to have a good audience. And so this time they did it indoors. But then some of the speakers went to like, what is it, the Capital One thing? Is that where, and how many is that? How many is that seat? Is it 200,000 people?
Oh no, it's the basketball arena.
Little under 21,000. Little under 20,000. Little under 21,000. Excuse me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So like a
Wizards game,
like a big comedian, like a draw from like a mid-level comedian.
The Wizards never get it this far.
Okay, so there was 20,000 people there. Interesting. Was there huge? There must have been throngs of crowds outside of it because there's the people. Elon Musk went over there to give a speech. And, he's neurodivergent.
Oh, God.
And he gets really excited. And he's never had any friends. And he spends his time having to pretend that he's smarter than he is, paying people to play video games for him so he can seem like he's cooler than he is. I know people who were at parties of his, like back in the day, before he, really was as big as he is now. Back when he was in the PayPal mafia, And they would basically hire girls to come to the parties. And it was very weird, apparently.
Wow.
So he's awkward. And so here he is just getting a little awkward at the beginning of this speech. This is number 8.
This was a fork in the road of human civilization. Okay. There are elections that come and go. Some elections are, important, some are not. But this one this one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
Hold on. Whoa. This is number 8, right? Clip number 8. What was the thank you? What? That's a thank you? Is that the international symbol for thank you? Could you just go back a little bit? That was an interesting thing because he really, from my heart, outward thank you. Is that what he's saying? Go ahead. Let's see.
Mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
Turn it around.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to you. It is thanks to you.
My heart, is that what he says next? My heart goes out to you?
There's a little shiver in his voice when he's saying that.
My heart goes out to you. I see. He really, that's the classic, my heart goes out to you. And then you just thrust your arm.
Throw it up, throw your heart at a 45-degree angle towards the roaring crowd.
Okay. And then, all right. I mean, everybody makes a mistake once. It was obviously not a premeditated thing. He's just getting excited. Apparently, NBC edited out the second one. Is that right? Okay. Play these.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out.
Oh, he did it both. He did it to them on both sides. Isn't that awkward? Isn't that awkward? Now, a lot of people are trying to pretend that somehow this is some type of Nazi fascist salute. When Elon is he's neurodivergent. Okay? And let's compare it. This is from last year. In January, this is the CBC, has a footage of dozens of Italian fascists giving a salute during a far-right rally in Rome. Here it is. Okay, now look. Do you see? None of them are touching their heart and thrusting their arms out. They're just thrusting their arms out. Musk was clearly saying, this is my heart, I send it out to you. Like thrusting it out. And, if that was the case, and some people have suggested it could be a Roman thing too.
Right.
Now, the Roman thing was actually just made up.
In the 1800s by theater people.
And then I guess apparently the Nazis adopted that. In the same way that they also came over here and took the Massachusetts State Police uniforms. They found them to be the most sort of Nazi-ish, I guess, what they were going for.
They're open to influence.
But let's look at this guy, famed Roman, theatrical. Guy played a lot of Roman performances. Here he is.
I don't speak Italian. What was he saying?
Well, didn't they speak Latin in Rome?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right? Yeah, he's speaking Latin, and he's doing some type of theater production.
Is that Cicero?
And that's why he's doing the thing from his heart and going out, right?
Yeah, give us one more time.
Let's see that one more time.
In the Nazi salute.
Well, he's going out. Does Sieg Heil mean my heart goes out to you?
Thank you so much for doing this. This was a fork in the road.
We're at the crossroads of civilization. My heart goes out to you. I give my heart to you. Everybody. You know, Gilbert Gottfried had a great joke about Kurt Waldheim, who people don't remember, but he was at one point the UN chief. And he was from Vienna. And it came out while he was head of the UN that he may have had a Nazi past. And Gilbert Gottfried had a great joke where he was talking that Kurt Waldheim and his wife were on vacation, just like in the late 30s. And he was in front of, they went to Germany, and he was in front of some fountain, and his wife was about ready to take his picture. And they saw some Nazis come walking through, and Waldheim said, "Wait, don't take the picture. Don't take the picture. Don't take the picture." And that's when she snapped the picture. And that was what the problem was.
Yep.
So, look, there is no doubt in my mind that Elon Musk, remember, you have to remember who this guy is. He pays people to play video games with him, for him, so that he can look like he is a top video game player. He has a team of like writers coming up with something like where he wanted to go on Saturday Night Live and pull out a rubber chicken out of his pants and say, "Do you want to see my C word?" Because he's juvenile and has no friends. And there is no doubt in my mind that this guy definitely came up with this as a troll. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say my heart goes out to you. And I'm going to play it off that way.
And he practiced it.
And he practiced it without a doubt. And it was like, watch what I'm going to do to whatever friends he pays to be around him. And they're all going to get a huge laugh out of it. But understand there's not a huge difference between that and a fascist doing it earnestly. These symbols they exist for a reason. They create an in-group and an out-group. And if you're in on a joke like this, you're part of the in-group. And if you're on the out-group, you're on the out-group. It's not a coincidence they do these things. They do these things to create that in-group and out-group. Secret handshakes, I mean, all of this stuff. Sometimes they can be benign, and sometimes they can represent other things. So, and, you know, at the end of the day, the symbolism is one thing. The actions are going to be more important. And we're going to go through the actions that Donald Trump has taken already as president. Remember, destroying things and hurting people is a lot easier than building things and helping people. It just is. So that stuff can move quick. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out. A Bush-appointed judge to the Superior Court, I think, and then was elevated by Barack Obama. So, to the extent that we know any of his politics, he's okay with the Federalist Society, or was. He has refused to lift the order enjoining Trump from using the Alien Enemies Act to deport immigrants. And that doesn't mean that there aren't immigrants being deported. It's just that they can't do it under the auspices of the Alien Enemies Act, which affords a lot less due process. And here is the fundamental problem that the Republicans and really the anti-immigrant folks have in terms of their fantastical solution. And that is to deport all immigrants. And that is that we don't have the capacity to process them. And certainly part of like the Biden immigration bill, there's a lot of it that I didn't like. But one of the things that was good was we need more money to have more magistrates to assess people's claims of asylum. I also would have liked to loosen those claims. I think having immigrants in this country is healthy for us, both from an economic standpoint and just broadly societal standpoint. But here is Brian Kilmeade unwittingly understanding the dilemma that is being faced and then basically saying like, hey, let's throw out all one of the fundamental principles of United States society.
Asking that in order to send them to El Salvador, you have to have proof that they were in a gang, or is breaking the law and entering our country that's not enough.
But the president is saying under the act that you don't have to show, you don't have to do this due process. So you have a constitutional right that is actually they are afforded to illegals in this country. We should revisit that. But then you have
hold on for a second. We should revisit the constitutional rights that the so-called illegals have in this country. We should. I love how you throw off the Constitution. We should revisit that. Okay, let's revisit that. How do we go about revisiting that constitutional right?
I'm going to pretend I'm taking it seriously, but I'm going to, say
we'll revisit it.
Right, and that's what's incredible about this is they've blown past the pretense that we were under in the Bush administration that like, okay, well, if we're going to violate their due process rights, let's at least keep them overseas in Guantanamo Bay and not give them a trial or like just detain them indefinitely. Now, if you're on U.S. soil, but you're not a permanent U.S. citizen, apparently you don't have constitutional rights, according to Fox and Friends, which is news to a lot of legal scholars.
Let me just correct you. If you are suspected or accused of being a non-citizen, because we don't know.
Right.
Like part of due process, the reason why you have due process is not just because it's fun to say, it's because you want to know that the people that you are subjects of your criminal, of your, your prosecutorial actions are actually of the class or have done the thing reasonably assuming that they have done. That's what due process is for. But we should revisit that. But go ahead.
They are afforded to illegals in this country. We should revisit that. But then you have a competing act that is saying, hey, if someone is a part of a foreign terrorist organization, that you don't have to give them due process and they can be deported. Now, the agents that I talked to...
But they have to prove that they were actually in Nicaragua or MS-13?
Exactly. And so what the agents are saying is, because you hear all these activists keep talking about the tattoos. We're not just talking about the tattoos. That's just one of the elements. We sat on their house, and part of the reason why we don't want to reveal some of this information is because some of the people that got the information are undercover. So if we start bringing out our sources and methods, we're going to burn our sources that are still within the organization.
That's a great point.
It's not a great point. Then conclude your investigation. What is this?
We need to have the secret moles inside the sleeper cells.
Yeah, we don't want to give away the secret.
To prevent them from wait, what? Why don't you just... I don't get it. Why wouldn't you just round them all up?
The sources and methods of one of these goons looking through like images, drinking a Mountain Dew, being like, yeah, I think that's a terrorist because I saw a crown tattoo. Please.
You don't understand what they're doing, Matt.
Eating Cheetos, being like, yeah, it looks like a terrorist.
Yeah, round them up. That's what it is.
With your law enforcement background, especially, But I also think it's not practical to think that we can do due process on 8 million people.
No.
There's 22 million people here, and minimum illegal already, just in the last 3 administrations.
Pause
and
it for a
there's some
second.
people that got.
Now, the numbers are 23 million now it's up to?
Total, I guess, is what he said.
I don't think so.
He said 8 million there, and then I mean,
Go back a
but
little
Kilmeade
bit,
said
but-
22 million at a minimum here illegally, which is not the number that.
But okay, let's assume it's 23
cited.
million that are here illegally. Like some have overstayed and this and that. They're claiming that if you're a member of a terrorist organization, all of a sudden this gangs have bumped up to terrorist organizations now, as opposed to criminal organizations. We can't reasonably do due process. Well, then how do you know these people are the people that you say they are?
Maybe it's time to tell.
Trust us.
Maybe it's time to tell all the Republican voters who've been gassed up about mass deportations that actually all that shit was lies for campaigns. It's not feasible.
And I was suspicious that this was the case, but you look it up. You just do the simple math. There's around 12.8 million green card holders living in the U.S. The estimates in terms of people who are here having crossed the border without documentation is around 11 million.
Oh, green card who have overstayed?
No, just green card holders. So that total would, the rough math would be
So
what
they're adding up legal.
That's what it seems like. Is that right? Like my math?
I don't know.
12.8 plus
my
11?
understanding is that half of the undocumented people in this country are actually came here with a visa and then overstayed. And the other half came across the border, north or south, or by boat or whatever, without documentation.
I don't know if that's the number that Kilmeade is describing, but all of the figures that I have seen in terms of people who are here and technically what they would call illegal immigrants would be anywhere from 8 to 12 million people. It's around 11 million is usually what's used right now. If you were to do that math, that would be an extremely scary escalation to add green card holders.
But even
we're
if
already seeing it. We're already seeing green card holders being deported and detained and attacked without due process.
Well, that's because they were really mean on social media.
To Israel?
To Israel. But here's some bad news. Even if it's just 8 million, you will also not be able to provide due process for them in any type of reasonable time with the resource that we dedicated towards it. And this is it's the same thing they're doing with Social Security. We break the process in delivering these things and then say these things are not things that we should have.
It's because some of the people that got the information are undercover. So if we start bringing out our sources and methods, we're going to burn our sources that are still within the organization.
That's a great point with your law enforcement background, especially. But I also think it's not practical to think that we can do due process on 8 million people.
No.
There's 22 million people here, and minimum illegal already, just in the last 3 administrations. And there's some people that got through with Trump's administration. If we're going to give these guys a day in court and a lawyer, we can't do it. They don't deserve it. Our system doesn't need to be double burdened. And I would just love to see the same curiosity, anger, outrage about the millions that came here at our border. You found the NGOs.
Yeah.
You couldn't get into the building.
So true.
But they were sent into Westchester, small towns into Pennsylvania, and they're unloaded, and we don't know anything about them. Where was Margaret Brennan and who's ever hosting Meet the Press today?
Welcome.
Where were they? Curious about what's going on. How do we know who's landing in the middle of the night? How do we know who's been put into our school systems then?
Pause it. Maybe you should have some type of due process. I mean, what do you mean? How do we know?
Expand the bureaucracy.
Right.
Were they flying in invisible jets that are run by some type of fourth party? Give the money, provide the capacity to our immigration system. If you are concerned that they don't know who these people are.
I mean, look at this image. Look at this. Just put this screenshot up. I mean, what images does this look like? It's some of the darkest periods of our history. Men with shaved heads, bowing their heads, being surrounded by highly militarized
Put on
police
display.
forces.
This is, all for display purposes.
There are around 700,000 Venezuelan migrants who were in the country prior to, Trump getting into office. That's the estimate. Tren de Aragua, that's a few hundred are the estimates, but even if you wanted to include all 700,000 Venezuelan migrants who are here, the total that Brian Kilmeade is talking about vastly exceeds by almost just incomprehensible portions, the number of criminals that are here, which means that they are basically classifying all immigrants as criminals.
Right, and then saying it's not just that they're gang members, it's that they're terrorists, because you can't just say, because it's crazy how much they are aware, obviously, of the fact that if you said these people haven't done anything wrong other than seek a better life in this country, people don't want to see them sent to a gulag.
Yeah.
That's why Sagar was sort of dismissive of it on Breaking Point, saying well, who's saying that? The ACLU? You think none? Even if one of these people is that innocent, this is a crime against, even if they're all guilty, to be honest, sending them to a foreign gulag by one of your fascist sort of buddies is, it's despicable.
And look at the comparison how they treat the January 6thers who were on video doing what they did versus just presuming criminality because people are Latino. MS-13 was also cited there. That started in L.A. in the 80s. In a prison. We have prison gangs all across the country. We're going to classify all of those as domestic or as foreign terrorist organizations, even though they originate in the United States.
Tren de Aragua also started in a prison, which is just a good thing to remember for folks who think that the solution to all this stuff is locking up people in large numbers.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.